All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Speed Street. Welcome back to the street where we go really fast. We have a ton to talk about this week, folks. There has been a whirlwind of things happening. We had the NBA All-Star Weekend, which was absurd. I don't even know if anyone wants to hear about it, but I might have some funny stories. I would love to tell people about that. And I hope you guys enjoy it because I think there are a lot of unique things that were happening that some of the things really would only happen to me. There are several of those items, but also a lot of IndyCar news to talk about. We've got several things like, boom, Takuma Sato back in the Indy 500. We've got Nashville is now an oval, the season finale. We've got several things to talk about. Callum Ilott in for McLaren for a test. So we've got that to just dive into a little bit, just a little dive, as well as a fantastic interview. We say that every week, but this really was a great interview with Michael Shank, MSR, obviously the IndyCar team, the many-time Rolex winner, Indy 500 champion, Meyer Shank Racing, the MSR folks that I got to drive for last year a little bit. Great interview with him. But want to introduce my co-host Chase. Chase, how are we doing? You have a great Mark Martin shirt on. As always, an incredible outfit, wardrobe. How you feeling, man? How was your weekend? Daytona 500 weekend. We got to talk about that too, obviously.
Yeah. A lot did happen. I will say, first off, though, anytime a legend of our time like Mark Martin, big avid fan of Gucci Mane, love him. I've always got to throw it up one time for him. Got the old Winn-Dixie. I don't know if you ever shopped at a Winn-Dixie before. You ever been to a Winn-Dixie?
I did not. I was not a Winn-Dixie guy, I don't think.
I used to work at the Winn-Dixie. I got fired from there when I was 17 because I wouldn't take out my iPod headphones. I was really big into listening to, I think I was listening to like a Drake mixtape when it first
That makes sense.
So, yeah.
iPod Mini, iPod Color, maybe? Yeah.
Nano. iPod
Nano, got it, yeah.
Big Nano guy.
There you go.
It was the best of times, the worst of times, but it's all good. But no, I had a great weekend. I got to follow along with your basketball Jones that you had, your adventures. I heard you were late for practice.
Yep.
Which was just going to be fun to hear about. And then, yeah, the Daytona 500, man, I watched it a little bit differently because of the rain out this year. So kind of got, caught up on some of the visuals, but we prevail.
You did call it, by the way. We did call it.
We told you. We told you last week. It came out, the first name out, William Byron.
First name out.
Speed Street. You heard here first. So yeah, I'm ready to dive into it. I'm ready to hear all about your adventure though, man. Starting off with your parade in the car downtown.
Yeah, no. So I definitely just wanted to. There were several moments within the weekend where I was like, I can't wait to tell the listeners of Speed Street about this because I think it was a very unique situation that I don't think I will ever be a part of again. I got to meet many individuals who I've been a fan of, who I didn't know but now know, and who are superstars, who are incredible people. Got to listen to some musical performances that I didn't think I would get to listen to. Shout out 2 Chainz, but I Thursday night, like literally, this is the day after. Our last episode released, is practice time, right? We have an unofficial shoot around. They called it for the celebrity teams. I was on Team Shannon. Obviously, we talked about Shannon Sharp. Peyton Manning did bail on us, which is a shame. That was a very sad moment. No Peyton Manning, no Coach Peyton.
Terrible.
I really wanted to tell him about that time he got me the day off of school when we won the Super Bowl. That didn't happen, but I Thursday night I did this amazing. I got to do this awesome thing with the IndyCar 2-seater. Let's go shout out IndyCar. We had an IndyCar 2-seater on the Circle downtown Indianapolis. Basically got to kick off the weekend by taking Tyrese Halliburton, our star of the Indiana Pacers, for a ride basically from the Circle. About 3 blocks is about all we got to do with a police escort, and didn't require race suits. I wasn't allowed to wear my helmet. We had to wear these special all-star helmets because they were making it like a surprise, like, oh, it's Connor and Tyrese. Because little did I know, apparently people do listen to this podcast, and I had said on our podcast that I was going to do this with Tyrese Halliburton. There was a news article saying that, oh, Connor said he was going to take Tyrese Halliburton for a ride in the two-seater. I spoiled it, so that's on me. I can't be trusted, clearly. But anyway, we were there. Very excited. I did a burnout downtown, and the police officers, very, very kind folks, they went about 1.5 miles, maybe 2 miles an hour, and that is not good for a race car. And this is the two-seater. This isn't the street-legal two-seater, if people have seen that before. That one's kind of just like meant to be on the road, and it just looks like an Indy car. This was like the real one with like the racing clutch in it, like the full gearbox and everything. And so I do this burnout, and I immediately have to stop, clutch in. I'm like, oh, this is going to be hard on the clutch because this clutch wasn't meant to be, like, we're not meant to be going and stopping in this thing. This is one use, out of the pits, go, and do your lap in the two-seater. And so we're going down the street, and the police are going real slow, and I'm like, oh, I got to wait. But I don't want to, like, drop too far back, just stop in the middle of the road, think something's broken, and then go again. I swear, I think the clutch started burning out about halfway through, like a block and a half in, and I'm like, this is going to be tough if I can't make it to the event. Like, big crowd of people coming, big surprise. It would be a real shame if I either didn't have a clutch and I just mowed into a ton of people there because all I could do was hit the brakes.
That'd have been a story.
But it was a very slow operation. Did one final burnout into the little entry area and like did enough of a burnout with enough of the clutch to where then I even locked the front brakes coming to a stop. And I was like, all right, well, that was kind of a shame.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do more. I really did.
Yeah,
but
people don't
that was
realize
all
that's
she
a
had.
rocket. That's a rocket clutch, dude. Like, that's not.
I know.
It's not a normal clutch. Not
No,
normal.
it's not meant for a nice little cruise down Maryland Street downtown Indianapolis. Like, it was definitely not meant for it. But it was amazing. Like, we got out of the car, and Tyrese, I don't think he knows where to go. He walked away, and I was done, and I was like, I got to go to practice. Like I was already missing practice. This is like about 6:45-ish. Practice started 6 to 8. It was 6 to 8 p.m. was the practice. And so I drive over to the Lucas Oil Stadium. We're having a little practice at Lucas Oil Stadium. And I'm not going to lie, I'm nervous. I'm a little nervous. I don't know anyone. I'm not going with anyone. I'm just rolling solo. I get brought to the little practice arena. I got a little Sparko bag with like shorts. I came dressed up. Like, I had, my long pants on that I did the two-seater event in. And I get to practice and they're already in like a full-on scrimmage. Like, we got people everyone had like a team, right? Like, there was, every person had like a social media guy or a social media team or something. And I just see all these humans that I'm like, oh boy, everyone here is much cooler than me. Like, it was giving off those vibes. And I didn't have a chance to warm up at all. They're like, go change in this closet bathroom and like just get out there. And I'm like, all right, I guess I'm getting in. And our coach Shannon was not there. So it was basically we were being taught by a couple like NBA specialists. Jaime Jaquez Jr. was there too, who was in the dunk contest. And this one guy who has like 2 million followers on Instagram for being a basketball like trainer. I don't know. I didn't know who he was, but seemed like a very nice fella. But like I was basically just walked onto the court and was like, here's your team. I'm like, hey everyone, like sorry I'm late. And not a very like friendly vibe right out the gate. I'm like, oh boy, I'm already hated upon, like the guy who can't come to practice, on time. And no time to warm up the body, right? Like, the ankles are cold, everything's cold, and they're like, all right, here we go. Boom. Flying around. And everyone's wearing, like, it's not like shirts and skins, right? So it's hard to tell, team members. I don't know anyone on my team. So I'm like, I think you're on my team. Long story short, it was so intense. And I think I got disrespected right out the gate because I wasn't warm. I got a bad pass and like it bounced off my hand and just there was not a lot of respect immediately in the streets there. It was It was a tough scene.
Sounds like your first day at school. Like you got to the new school. You went in. The cliques are already together. Man, they don't like you. And then when you go in, you're already nervous. Little did they know, though, the pressure was on intensely. I mean, you almost ran a car into a building, possibly.
I did. Yeah, I almost crashed into a bunch of innocent pedestrians, and then boom, here we are trying to practice with Micah Parsons and all these incredibly talented humans that I didn't know at the time. Now, again, couple guys very friendly right out the gate, but we're not here to talk. Like, we were here to ball. You know what I mean? So it was like boom, straight into a scrimmage. Tried to interact with some people, but realistically, then our coaches like ran us through some drills. And look, the drills I was locked in on.
Yeah.
I think I got a little bit more respect in the drills. But the funniest part about, I think, celebrities is that like everyone has this like not arrogance to them, but like a confidence to them, right? So like, you know, the basketball drills you ran in school where you had like 4 people on one side, 4 people on the other. You got to do a shot. That person gets the rebound. And it's a constant cycle. It should never be, there shouldn't be all of a sudden 7 people in one line.
Right.
Famous people cannot figure out lines. Like, they just wanted to do whatever they wanted. It was like one person shot the ball, the other person rebounded. And then it started like one person shot and they're like, I'm going to shoot again. And then the line gets off. And then, so there was no, and the trainer too, he was like, how on earth do we keep losing these lines? Like, what? Like, how do you guys not figure out?
Ego has no
We
formation.
can't figure out lines. No, there's no formation. People are all over the place. And I was like, oh my gosh, this
definitely sounds like
sad.
a high school story. It definitely sounds like it. That I just can't believe it. It sounds to me like, these guys were, I feel like you went in with the frame of mind. Like most,
I was excited to have fun. Yeah. I thought we were laughing. I thought we were like, hey guys, I don't play basketball, but I'm here to have a great time.
Right. Meanwhile, like Jennifer Hudson's like putting on the game paint, like she's ready to go. Like she's a player now. Like that.
Dude,
these guys were players.
I threw a basketball directly at Jennifer Hudson's face.
Well, how did she respond?
I felt so bad.
You felt bad. What did she say?
We had just got a talking to about like bounce passes and like chest passes, and they're like, you got to deliver that ball, like deliver it. And so I get under the rim, I get the ball, and I chest pass it right to Jennifer Hudson's face. Now again, right where you need to catch it, but it bounced off her hands, and thank God it didn't hit her in the face. But she looked at me like damn, and I was like, and to be honest, I won't lie, I didn't actually know it was Jennifer Hudson at the time.
Okay.
I didn't know. I assumed it. I assumed it was her, but I have never met Jennifer Hudson before. She was in athlete mode, she had the hair back, all this stuff. She's ready, full athlete mode. And I went up to her, I was like, I'm so sorry. And immediately after I passed, the guy stopped the drill. He's like, now also remember, know who you're passing to. I'm like, oh, fair. That's on me.
No.
I should not have maybe full speed chest pass directly to Jennifer Hudson, who also does not play basketball. So
right.
But from that moment on, I was like, hey, Jennifer, you know what? I just want to let you know I'm sorry. And this is intense. And I was trying to respond to the intensity. You know what I mean? And
sounds like you won the challenge.
I did.
Yeah.
It was fine.
That's good.
But that was one of the funniest moments. I couldn't believe no one really seemed like very friendly at the time either. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. I don't really know who's on my team. I thought one guy was on my team. He was not. And there was just so much intensity. We were running flat out for 2 hours to like 8:15. I watched Micah Parsons and Stephen A. Smith go at it, and then Stephen A. Smith fall on the ground. And apparently there was a big story about how he had to go to the hospital the next day because of his ankle or something like that.
I heard about it.
I saw that happen. And Micah Parsons was like super intense. He's like, we got to keep playing. I got to get my shots in. I got to work on things. And I'm like, look, I'm here. I'm ready to play.
Mm-hmm.
But Thursday night was, when I left there, I was like, this is gonna be rough. Like, this is gonna be a tough experience. Part of what our coaches were saying was like, hey guys, part of this game is embracing your teammates, understanding who each other are, like doing all this. And I was like, I haven't been talked to once. I don't think I know who anyone is here. Like, I don't know what's going on. So I went home Thursday night and I'm like, this is gonna suck. This is going to be a tough experience. And
Did you soak? Did you soak your muscles? Were you sore?
my ankles were already destroyed. I didn't get to warm up at all. Bad decision. Had to get the ankles warm. My ankles were destroyed. The shoes I were wearing were not treating me right. And so Friday, you know, we show up about 3:00 to the hotel. The Alexander Hotel downtown is where everyone kind of met. That's where all the celebrities were staying. I obviously live here, so I didn't have to stay there. But things finally started to change. Things finally started to be the vibes changed. I'm sitting there. I signed in. I was like, all right, I'm going to wait. I got a free backpack full of goodies. I was like, this is awesome. Free stuff. We love free stuff. Thank you to the NBA. And Lily Singh, who I did not know at the time, she comes up to me. She's like, so I Googled everyone on the team, and I have a lot of questions for you. And I'm like, all right, let's get into it. And boom, straight into IndyCar questions. And I was like, oh, cool. Yeah, sure. Talking, having a nice time. And I was like, did you think it was kind of really intense last night? And she's like, oh my gosh, I thought I was the only one who thought it was way too overly intense. And like, I feel like people wanted to kill each other out there. I was like, I thought the same thing too. And so we kind of bonded right out the gate. Her and her girlfriend, we all became great friends and just started talking. Hey, we're talking about life, motorsport, everything in general. And then more and more people start. Walker Hayes, the country music artist.
Yes.
Great guy as well. Very nice fellow. Started talking to him. And so now the vibes are going the right way. We're meeting the team. Quincy Isaiah, good friend of mine. He's in the Lakers show. He played Dr. J or whatever in the Lakers show, I think.
Right.
Or Magic or something. I don't know. But the vibes are now changing. Everything's going well. And AJ from the Backstreet Boys wearing all red pants.
Oh, wow.
Red jacket. This guy looks like a complete star. And I couldn't believe I was kind of talking to AJ from the Backstreet Boys. Were you a Backstreet Boys guy?
I was a huge Backstreet Boys guy. I went to the 2000 Millennium Tour when they came down to the Superdome on hoverboards. I'll never forget it. What a moment. What a moment.
Yeah, amazing. And so it was definitely interesting to start kind of figuring out, all right, this night's going to go a certain way. It's going to be cool. People are dressed up for the red carpet. We show up to the red carpet. Boom, there's Puka Nacua. Puka Nacua apparently wanted to meet me. I was like, I'm a big fan of Puka Nacua.
Whoa.
No big deal. I drafted Puka Nacua in my fantasy draft. I read some articles. I got in the weeds. I did some research. You know what I mean? I drafted Puka Nacua like 6th round. And I told him that, and he's like, oh, hell yeah, man. Thank you so much. Like, that's sweet. And great dude. I walked the red carpet right after CJ Stroud and right before Puka Nacua. So hang the banner for that. That's something I'm going to put on my wall. That'll never happen again in my life, ever. Not once in my life will ever that ever happen again.
Never say never. You don't know. It sounds like you got a nice little huddle, like a nice little click now out of those guys. I mean, you never know when some NBA street's going to kick up. You know what I'm saying? You never know. You never know when they're going to want to just throw the rock around.
You're right. And so, boom. Time to get locked in. Time to go see. To this point, we had not seen a uniform. We had not seen like anything that we were going to get to wear. Shoes, had no idea. So we get to the locker room, and again, this feels cool. This is like where they take those photos of the people like walk into the locker room. I did not get a walking photo, sadly. I didn't get one of those cool like walk-in photos that all the famous players get. But got in there. And a couple jerseys. And first of all, that was also we just discovered what numbers we were. I didn't know I was going to be 22. I thought I was going to be 24, like my Indy 500 number. I wanted to be 24. Apparently, that was taken by Jewel Lloyd, our WNBA player. Well, she deserves it over me. But 22, still one of my favorite numbers. But it was get in there. All right, okay, I guess I should can we warm up? Like we had about an hour and a half to the game. And I'm getting in there, and Micah Parsons, giant fella, literally looks like he could snap off my femur and just eat it for breakfast, like whatever he wanted to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we were all just like, all right, time to get changed and go out there and warm up. And sure enough, I was like, all right. I put on my first jersey. It's too small. I'm like, oh no. They gave me a medium jersey instead of a large. I'm
Logistics.
like, oh, this is terrible.
Top notch.
I was like, dang, here we go. But thankfully, the spare jersey was a large. So boom, got it locked in, got it tucked in, got the socks on, felt ready to go. And we get out there way before the gates are even open, right? So we're just dribbling around. The court's all virtual, like it's crazy.
Yeah.
And we start warming up. We warmed up for like an hour and a half. We're all tired. We're like, we were just shooting balls. Like when you have a basketball in your hand, you got to shoot it, right? So we're out there just shooting balls, and we're like, hang on, we got to like maybe cool it down a little bit.
You got lost. You got lost. You thought you were an NBA player. That's what happened. Everyone got lost, dude.
Yeah, we ran out there. We had I had a headband on. I was feeling good.
Very proud, by the way.
Thank you. But yeah, that night as well, it snowed so much in our town. It snowed so much downtown Indianapolis that like no one could get to the game on time. Like I felt so bad for the crowd because, when they opened up the gates, obviously a lot of people flooded in. Dylan Wang, our teammate, Dylan, he's big Asian actor. Like he's big in Asia. I actually don't know much about Dylan, but very famous guy, very famous fella. And very nice guy, translator, very nice guy. Doesn't really speak English, but a lot of people were there to see him right out the gate. Boom, Dylan Wang, that's our guy. Very cool, nice guy. Honestly, he was very good at basketball too. So
yeah,
mad respect to Dylan.
Jimmy Fredette fan, more than likely.
Maybe, yeah, maybe. But yeah, so we get in there and people start rolling in. I'm like, man, this is pretty serious. Like this is. Like, I love the NBA. I love going to basketball games. And we're down there just shooting around, doing whatever we want, drinking water, Gatorades, whatever it is. And once it starts getting really crowded and you start to kind of, it's like, hey, all right, it's time for intros,
Mm-hmm. That
was a cool moment. Like, we're in the hall. You're in the hall, right? And it's Micah Parsons, Puka Nacua, CJ Stroud. You got AJ from the Backstreet Boys. You got all these all these super famous people and the most random things ever. And WNBA players who are superstars.
Took your number.
And what?
And took your number. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And took my number.
Just gotta add that in there.
It was an amazing experience just to kind of. Like, I will probably never get that again. You know what I mean? Like, hey, we're going out on a real, like, basketball court. You're doing intros with a crazy virtual screen. You're walking out there. I'm standing next to 50 Cent for the national anthem.
That's
like,
big.
It's Quincy Isaiah, Micah Parsons, 50 Cent, me. And I'm like, this might be a great moment.
It's the quad
50
squad.
Cent's, throwing a little shade at Stephen A. Smith. 50 Cent's walking over and maybe, throw a few comments at the other team. Couldn't have been a nicer guy. But it was a magnificent experience, honestly. Very, very fun. But as soon as the game started, I could tell how it was going to go, right? They put all the tallest people in first, understand, and the superstars. So you had Lily Singh and Jennifer Hudson, because if Lily was in, Jennifer had to be in, or vice versa. And I was like, oh, man. I'm probably not going to get in this game.
Welcome to the show.
And I don't know if you got to watch, but it was definitely a superstar show.
I caught some highlights. I did that. I was on my way. I was trying to watch it. I was literally on my phone trying to get it pulled up because I was like, oh my God, like I need to watch this now. I need to see. And then I start reading tweets and I'm like, I'm tweeting like, or not tweeting, but I'm searching on X and I'm like, Connor Daly. I'm like, what is the trending? What's happening? I'm not seeing nothing. I'm like, please do not tell me.
Connor Daly breaks CJ Stroud's leg. Yeah, you were looking for something like that.
I heard you rebounded. I heard you got some rebounds.
Oh, yeah.
So you have stats.
So I don't want to describe every moment of the game, but what happened is Shannon Sharp pretty much just wanted to have the superstars in, which I get it, because Stephen A. Smith did the same thing. But there was one moment we were down. We were down in the game. We were not leading. And I got put in. I got put in with Kai Cenat. I got put in with Dylan. And we brought the team back.
Hell yeah. 2
rebounds, no big deal. An assist. I was a big guy in the paint. You know what I mean? I was trying to get I did miss a shot. That's on me. I did miss a shot. That is my I didn't it was a tough angle. It was tough. It was just everything about it was tough. But when I got taken out of that game, I was like, there's no shot I'm going back in here. And it was a bit of a shame, but it was such a fun, it was a rush, right? It was an adrenaline rush, but there's no defense being played. So all you're doing is sprinting up and down the court. Like, we're literally just sprinting.
Yeah.
And I got in the game for a second time, but that's only because I just walked onto the court. Like, Shannon was like trying to figure out who he wanted to play, and there were only four people out there, and I was like, I'm just going on. And so I just walked onto the court.
That's how
and
you
so
do
I
it.
did eventually. He eventually realized that I was out there, and so he was like, next time out, I'm getting this guy out forever. But it did give me a chance to get in the paint again. It gave me the chance for the assist, I believe, or the fast break play that we started. It was like a half an assist. It was like I passed it to the guy who passed it to the other guy who then made the basket. You know what I mean?
You were the spice in the pot. Like that's what we would call it down here in Louisiana. You know, you were the little sprinkle that kick-started the roux. Like that's what you did. And see, it started from the very beginning of the week, Con. You know, you get in the car, you're late to practice. They don't see what's happening behind the scenes. You went out there, you said, Shannon, listen, I'm coming. I'm gonna walk onto this court and I'm gonna do my job. And you did.
Literally just walked onto the court. And I was proud of that one. I was proud of that moment, not gonna lie.
Oh yeah.
Pat McAfee was like commentating at that point. Like it just felt cool. Everything about it was
I could just hear that.
Was an amazing experience. I tend to talk a lot, but we won the game. We obviously won the game. Lily and I both didn't go in for like the entire second half. Poor Quincy Isaiah. He went in on the first quarter. He never went in the rest of the game. I thought the whole point of the celebrity game was to like rotate everyone in like kind of equal time.
Yeah.
Because like we all dedicated our time.
There. They were like,
nope. Like we all dedicated our time to like be there, you know what I mean? But that was not the case. So it was a bit of a shame we didn't get to play more, but we got on the stat sheet. That was the goal. A lot of people were asking for triple doubles, double doubles. It's like, no. I think I played maybe a total of 2 minutes and got on the board with a couple rebounds and assists. So I'll take it.
You're on the record.
You know what I mean? I will take it. We got the win, too. To win was a great feeling. It was very, very exciting. Hang the banner. I'd like to create a mini banner. Hang the banner, celebrity champ.
Okay.
No big deal. Trophy celebration. I'm sitting right next to Lil Wayne. I'm like, oh, there's Lil Wayne. He is a smaller fella. He's a small guy.
Wheezy.
Small guy. Yeah, Wheezy F baby, right?
That's
like
he's yeah. My man.
Great. Seemed like a very nice fella. And it was kind of crazy just walking around in the celebration because like you have so many superstars out there, people trying to take pictures of everyone. It was just nuts. And I will never forget that experience. I think it was something that was very, very special. I think a lot of people, I was trying to tell about the Indy 500, you know what I mean? A lot of people now have a lot of respect for the Indy 500, I hope. Not from my playing basketball, but just me sharing stories,
it's all the stats. It's all from the stats.
All the stats on the stat sheet. But yeah, after Friday night, pretty much went to a Zed concert after that, which I love Zed. He's the man. We had a great time. And then got ready for Saturday. We did the Saturday skills competition. So it was a big night Friday night. Do you have any post game summary for me and anything? Bobby, did you watch as well? Did you have a good time watching?
I did. I definitely had the game on full blast on the big screen. Had to take a little video when you came out during the introductions.
It was a
big moment. You were a rebounding machine, Connor.
Thank you. Some people did say that, and I don't want to. I was just wanted more time.
The Dennis Rodman of IndyCar, rebounding machine.
There you go,
Connor Daly.
There you go.
We're gonna have to make a highlight reel for Connor. I'm gonna make a promise. If this ever happens again, whether it be in any other professional sport that's not racing, I'm gonna find a way to be there. And we're going to put together just the ultimate compilation of hype video. But, like, it has to end with, like, the Breakfast Club. Like, like you got to do that. You got to do that on the way out.
So that was kind of crazy. And I know, I talk a lot. This is a podcast. But there was so much. I like to go into detail. But the Saturday night, Saturday night's kind of a fall. Sunday night, we went to the game. we did our thing. But the NBA, I have to say that they treated us so well. You know, Saturday night we go to the 3-point competition and the dunk competition. Me and my manager Andrew, we're sitting on the floor. We had no idea where our seats were, right? Like we showed up to the hotel. They take us all there, shuttle us in, and I'm sitting next to EJ Speed from the Colts and Vivica A. Fox. I'm like, yeah. All right, well, that's crazy. Bill Murray's sitting across from me. I'm like, that's Bill Murray. Chris Tucker from all the Rush Hour movies sitting right to my left. And I love Chris Tucker. I was like, this is incredible. So much about it was like, I don't think I deserve to be here, but it was one of the most fun experiences ever. Just watching the 3-point competition, getting to see Victor Wembanyama stand right in front of me because he's just insanely tall.
The perspective being on court side, like when you do that, like
crazy.
Dude, I've sat once at a Pelicans game, okay, and just being down there, like I want to say, I can't remember who it was, like Zion comes by, and it's like I felt like I was in the Bible, like David and Goliath. Yeah. Like I felt like that's what it was like when you were there. It's just like watching them go by, and I'm just like, what was it? Redick, JJ Redick was on the Pelicans at that time. Like, and when you're up top, you know, I'm like, oh, that guy's like my height. You know, you got to have that one guy that you're like, that makes you feel a little bit better about your legs and how long they are. No, didn't stand a chance. It was just straight David and Goliath all day.
Oh yeah, yeah. So Saturday, we have a great time. You know, all that stuff happens. 3-point competition, and obviously straight into the after parties. Like, let's get out there. Let's get out in the streets a little bit, see what's going on. We got to go to a Steph Curry event. And this is all not through me. This is all through the more famous people that I met from the weekend. Lily Singh and her publicist. I tell you what, having a publicist seems cool. I don't know what that's like, but her publicist, Marlo, might have been like, anywhere we wanted to go, she's like, yep, we got it.
What's
as many people as you want. I was like, oh, well, this lady is incredible. And so we walk into Steph Curry's party, and we're having cocktails with Steph Curry for a little while and just having a nice time. Steph Curry, legend. I showed him a picture of the 2016 Sonoma IndyCar race where his wife was the grand marshal. We took a picture with him, and he's like, oh my gosh, that is many years ago. I said, yes, I was driving in the race. I know it doesn't look like it now. I have a beard, but just want to say, appreciate you. It was cool. You know what I mean? Like, I appreciate you. Yeah.
What is that mean?
I have a beard now. I don't know what that means.
Got a beard.
Yep. But we go to this. So the next party we go to, Tyrese Halliburton's party. I got to give him credit. This was the place that it was used to be a bar called Tiki Bob's. It is now not Tiki Bob's. Yeah. It's now like the Meridian Room, and it's been redone. It's very nice. But I tell you what, we got there and it's 20 degrees outside. Me and my boys, we walked there. It was me, Sir, great singer, Quincy Isaiah. And a couple, and Gianmarco, who was the Italian high jumper. Also, he should not be allowed to play at a basketball game. He could dunk from the free throw line. Like, it was absurd. A high jumper is crazy.
Trampoline for
but great group of people, and we get there the same time as Trae Young and Kai Cenat, and I'm like, oh boy. You know, when you're trying to get into a place that's already, you know, it's list only, and you got to have Trae Young. Oh, okay, those are much more famous people than me. So we eventually get in, after we stand outside freezing, we did get help. It was very nice. But we get in there, and the amount of human beings at this party, I was like, this is for Indianapolis. I'm just an Indianapolis kid, right? So, like, I'm used to maybe if I go to the bar downtown, I see a guy I went to high school with maybe, and, like, my cousin. All right? You know, like that's the crowd. Maybe, you know, if you're lucky, you see Colton Herta, but only, you know, but maybe not anymore. Maybe he's out of the, you know, he doesn't drink anymore. He's trying to win a championship. I don't know.
Only if he's jamming. Yeah.
Only if he's jamming, right? And so we go in there, and it's like, there's Lil Wayne, there's 50 Cent, there's 2 Chainz, there is Trae Young, there's Kevin Durant, there is Tyrese Halliburton, there is Miles Turner, there is basically an insane amount of people that I was like, this is all in like one little spot, and I am in here. I was like, I don't understand this at all. And then I got like a tap on the shoulder. I was like, hey, like, you should meet like Mark Cuban's people. And I was like, excuse me, Mark Cuban is here? Like, that is absurd. And I get brought over, and all of a sudden, hey, Mark, this is Connor. He's like, oh man, like great to meet you. And I'm like, great to meet you.
This is Mark.
Like, this is great. I love. I mean, Mark Cuban. I've seen him on the television. He was in Entourage, one of my favorite shows of all time. Great. He's in the Entourage movie too. Like, I mean, obviously Mark Cuban is a legend.
Yeah.
And we had such an amazing interaction, and I couldn't believe it. And he was also with that girl, Bobby Altoff, that lady who has the podcast that interviews people really awkwardly. Yeah. Like she was in the bed with Drake and interviewed him, and like she just interviewed like Wiz Khalifa. It was very awkward conversations. Yeah. And I was like, because you see those clips, like I've seen the clips of
she's
her
the
show.
Zach Galifianakis of females. Like it's like between two ferns. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's her whole thing.
So
is
I was
the awkwardness.
And again, she did kind of seem like that in real life too, because I was like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" Like I've seen a lot of your like clips. Like I like, congrats on your success. And she just kind of like looks at me, and I'm like, "All right, well, great to see you too."
Worked out.
And but Mark Cuban couldn't have been a nicer guy. He was like, "Hey man, yeah, we gotta like come hang out with us after." And then the whole mix up, I'm like, "Oh, should I have asked for Mark Cuban's phone number? I don't know."
Oh
you know what I mean?
Dude,
like,
yeah,
it's hard to know. It's a nervous moment. You know what I mean? Like, it's tough.
I understand.
So,
I definitely would say I understand. You got to find a way. Especially if you're vibing, and you got the boys.
And we were vibing.
You and Mark it seems like y'all are the boys now. It's just like, oh, dude, let me show. I'm gonna send you this. It's like, oh,
yep.
How do I send it? There you go. Like, you get in there. I'm telling you, Mark, we're gonna get him into racing. I like this.
Yeah.
Mark's
he's an Indiana guy. He loves the Indy 500. And we did resolve this matter the next day at the All-Star game. I saw his guys. Like obviously you got because some dudes, right? You got some guys on your team, right?
Got to have it.
And I was like, hey man, I know Mark said like to come hang afterwards, and I didn't exchange any information with someone. I happened to send him a message on Instagram, but if you feel like, just let him know, like, hey, I'd love to connect. And then apparently his people told him. He followed me back on the Instagram.
Yeah.
We started interacting on the Instagram, and I felt like that was a win-win for the weekend. Now, I would have liked to have been racing in Daytona, obviously. We did not have any sponsorship for that. But now we're talking to Mark Cuban, I hope. So, nice guy, great interactions. That was the summary of the whole weekend. That whole weekend was an amazing connection hub. It was just so many positive interactions for my brand, I think. Positive interactions for Indycar, for the Indy 500, and so many more people now more curious about the Indycar series, more curious about Indycar. And all I was doing was I've invited everyone to the Indy 500. Every single person on my team, every single person on the other team. Because all those people have a good following. They have a good fan base. They have fans that might not know about IndyCar. So
no,
I think the weekend was a resounding success. There was a lot of very funny moments. And I think Indianapolis did a great job. I'm very proud of our city. And very thankful for the NBA and all the folks that were involved, because it was a tremendous time. A fantastic time.
See what that was right there. That was an epic. Like that was like the Iliad. You know what I mean? Like
is that what it was?
That's what that was. That was like a Connor Daly NBA All-Star. Iliad epic. So that was an epic tale. That was.
I might have talked a lot. No, but there was a lot to talk about, and I wanted to share some funny moments. Because a lot of this time, too, I feel like I shouldn't be there. I'm not one who thinks of myself as a celebrity or anything like that.
You're just a guy.
So,
just having a good time.
To be there, I like sharing it with folks, because I think, I find it funny. Like, this is something that I'm like, this is kind of a crazy moment to be like getting to do this stuff. I'm a fanboy of other sports, of movies, of television. So for me, I'm like, hey, I would like to hear about this from someone else too. Like if you, Chase, got to do a crazy experience that I will probably never get to experience, I'm like, hey, tell me about it. I want to hear about it.
Exactly. So, what you realize over time is it's just guys being bros kind of thing. It's everywhere. Yep. It's just happening everywhere. And then once you realize that, it's just the world gets a little bit brighter, and you're just kind of like, all right, this is cool. Now, you didn't get to race in the 500. But you're vibing with Mark Cuban. That's kind of, I wouldn't say it, maybe it's like not comparable, but I mean, it's close. Like, that's kind of close for people.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I would say that much. I would think for me personally, if I could have been there with you, I would have definitely been trying to like get Lil Wayne to do some skateboard tricks. I would have wanted to see a little bit more of the wild side of Weezy F Baby. To get that to come out. The 50 Cent thing is pretty wild. I would have asked him about his recent beef with Rick Ross. Really curious to know how that's going. So just kind of like, a nice little catch up, like in the neighborhood, like kind of doing it like that, making the rounds. But all in all, that was I would say that weekend gets like a 9.9. That's a 9.9. That's
it was a big
high.
weekend. Yeah, big weekend. I know I talked a lot about that, but I just wanted to share. This is the reason why we have a podcast. We can tell unique stories.
For talk.
At one point as well, I don't know, there was a conversation that took place that I almost videotaped at the game on Sunday. Bill Murray and 2 Chainz were sitting next to each other.
Oh my God, dude. Bill Murray.
And they were having a conversation. I was like, I would love to know what this conversation's about. I just want to know. Like, it was one of my favorite things to kind of just look at them just vibing. And I was like, talk about 2 very massively popular individuals from probably 2 different eras, essentially. And just, hey, we're just living out here at the NBA All-Star Game. So Bill Murray, 2 Chainz, apparently good friends. I don't know.
That would be my nervous factor, like with Bill Murray. Like, there are certain, like, for me, like, I don't really get nervous meeting people, but like there are definitely like people that are way older than me. Like, my list is kind of short. It's like Bill Murray is definitely one of them. Like, Jim Carrey is going to be one of them. A lot of the older comedians, I would say. But then, like,
exactly.
It doesn't go too deep. It's just the impactful folks. What I will say, though, about 2 Chainz that I've learned, 2 Chainz seems like he's definitely like a deep side. Kind of like when Lil Jon tricked us, thinking that he wasn't smart, but he was really smart. Dave Chappelle brought that out of him. And I will say that with Bill Murray and 2 Chainz, that they could have been talking about collaborations, like the theory of relativity or something.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Like, Bill Murray's definitely like he's just out of the box guy. Great, I love it. Space Jam, undefeated. He retired a winner. I feel like you can say the same kind of now. You've retired. You were on the stat sheets. You retired from the NBA. A winner. So, like, I mean,
we put up numbers.
Y'all are in the same
group.
Up numbers. Very small club. You're in it with Bill Murray.
Yeah, so that was that. I feel like I could go on and tell more stories, but
a lot of racing though.
But there might be for another day. But that was to get to do all that was an amazing thing. I'm thankful for, and we got to get to some racing news. So we'll ride straight into the IndyCar news. There was a lot that happened. We got the official word of David Malukas' injury, of course, and we got the official wording that Callum Ilott, obviously first choice there. That was pretty much, we had talked about that a little bit on the show. That was pretty much what was going to happen. But so far they've only confirmed him for a test. And there's a lot of test days in these next 2 weeks, actually. They're in Homestead literally as we talk right now. So he's going to get his first taste of the McLaren stuff, also doing a little bit of a hybrid test as well. And there's also, as you'll hear about in the Mike Shank interview as well, there's a big test at Sebring next week also. So there's a lot of stuff going on. I don't think I'm fully out of the conversation. When you look at David Malukas' time off, it says officially 6 weeks, right? Now, if everything goes well, I'm sure that time could reduce. There's only 2 races that fit in that time period, right? So you've got St. Pete and you've got the thermal race. Now, luckily for that entrant number, car number 6 or whatever number he is, there's only 1 points race. So thermal, I mean, they could put in a clown for all they wanted, like because it doesn't, all it is a money race, right? So the money, it really only means the most to the driver, essentially. Like, I'm sure the team would want it too, but either way, if you're putting in a new guy, it's going to be tough. But I'd say, hey, put in Kyle Larson if you want to. I would love to drive the car there. I would love to drive the car at St. Pete, but I see them definitely wanting to get an idea on Callum. That makes the most sense to me, only because I know that I think they have a good relationship. But we'll see. So stay tuned to that camp. You got to think about it as one race that really only means something points-wise, and then the thermal race is just kind of like a toss-up. I mean, they could put in anyone they wanted there because realistically, it's just a money race. So, pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Any word on that, Chase? What does your wrist surgery notes tell you?
No, I mean, like, I would say, like, on a serious note, I would say that, like, with Callum, like, having that test be done, I think that I think that the All-Star race could make sense for him. But with the points race, too, like, if they did want to go with a little more veteran experience, they wanted to go with something like that, the phone's there. I don't necessarily think you want to put a clown in the car. I mean, how strong are the clown's forearms? That's a good question.
It's a good question.
Can he handle no power steering? Will they even allow him in Thermal Club?
Exactly.
Those are questions
probably not
to ask. The Kyle Larson one, that could be cool. I mean, I think
that would be funny. But I'm fairly sure NASCAR's racing that weekend. I think they've got a race every weekend now from now on.
That's what I was about to say too. It's like, it was so funny. I got to watch that clip. I don't know if you've seen it, where it's Joey Logano sitting with Charles Leclerc, and he's sitting with like not Fred. I don't know why I'm spacing. Carlos Sainz, and they're playing poker, and he says, we race 36 races a year, and Leclerc's like, what? Yeah, like, he's freaking out. So it's they grind. They be grinding.
They got a lot of races.
But I think that it's cool. I'm learning a little bit more about Callum. I look to learn more about him going into this year. And anytime you see young guys coming into the fold, that's exciting stuff, man. That's the next generation.
Good driver.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he's a good driver. And we got just a quick driver announcement news. Takuma Sato running with RLL, Ray Hall, Letterman Lanigan, where he obviously won the 500 with that team. This was kind of I think a lot of people expected him to maybe go to Coin at some point. Again, Dale Coin Racing, still 2 TBA entries. I could see that seat now being split up between several different people. I could see it being, basically, I don't think Dale's going to do it like one race at a time, but I have no idea what they're going to do with both cars. I really don't. But one car I could see, I could see Sato run the 500 with Ray Hall and then maybe do the other ovals with DCR. I don't know. Yeah. But Dale's going to have a lot of decisions to make. I know Jack Harvey is very close to that camp, and I expect to see Jack in there for at least a couple races. I think he's got a decent amount of support, at least enough to do a couple races. No one has a full budget right now. That's just not. There's no one with proper money. Do we see Benjamin Peterson show up? A lot of people have kind of forgot about that name, but Benjamin Peterson might show up again on the radar. I don't know.
Sure.
So there's a lot going on there. But Ray Hall and Sato, that combination just goes together really well. And then I think big IndyCar news that a lot of people talked about was the Nashville season finale. Nashville moving to the Oval. The Nashville Oval that NASCAR currently races on, that IndyCar used to race on as well. I put out a tweet about this. I am a big fan of this. I hate to see the fact that Nashville, the street course, is going away for this year, because I think there's a lot of people that put a lot of money and a lot of effort into that. However, if it's not going to work properly, it's probably good to not force it to work. So, I love that they just didn't cancel it and like put another Indy GP race in, right? We've seen that before, where a race gets canceled and we just add an Indy GP race. So that is what I am most happy about with our leadership and everyone that worked together, is that they're like, hey, we're still going to Nashville. We got an oval. Let's go there. You know what I mean? We don't have Texas this year. So the Indianapolis 500 was the only race where we would have used the Super Speedway wing package. This is going to be a Super Speedway package. So I'm a big fan of it. And it being the last race of the year, I want to convince Dennis Reinbold to be like, hey, Dennis, 500 goes well. Let's just keep those wings on the car. Let's just run it at Nashville. You know what I mean? Like, I love the idea of IndyCar going to Nashville. The Oval, I hope it's promoted properly. I do hope people give it a chance and people will come to the race, because that is going to be much tougher than going downtown Nashville to a race. The racetrack's about 40 miles outside of downtown, so I don't know. I'm excited about it. I love oval racing. IndyCar needs more ovals. I think the fan reception, or the fan response to that, I think was way more positive than I expected it to be, and I'm happy about that.
Yeah, no, that's what I was gonna say. I have a few people that I know that were getting, they were a little bummed at the fact that it wasn't gonna be on the street. But when you really look at the bigger picture of what this means for IndyCar, you can't do anything but applaud it, because right now IndyCar is at a point to where, yeah, we want it to grow. We want to see more people get involved in me, especially like with someone like me coming over from, the NASCAR side. I think what makes IndyCar different from all forms of racing has to be the fact that you have this type of car racing on an oval. That matters.
I agree.
And that is something to put in a championship. Putting that in a championship weekend is going to be something that could drive views through the roof.
I think it's awesome.
And not only that, but just getting more people there and developing connections with Nashville Superspeedway to keep that race there, possibly. Maybe there's two races there, the street course and the oval. The possibilities are endless, but I think that this is a great starting point. Very proud of this move, and I'm a big advocate and always will be for more ovals in IndyCar.
I agree. No, I'm right there with you. And I think as long as we can get people to the event, that was our big problem at Texas. We got to market it correctly. We got to get, and the Music City GP folks, they do a lot of, they do great marketing. So, I have confidence that they'll do the best that they can. But yeah, that I think was a big news nugget. And I'm glad that we didn't have to go back to like the Indy GP to finish off the season. I'm glad we're finishing on a high-speed oval. And obviously, speaking of high-speed ovals, let's just do a quick detour to Daytona real quick. We've pretty much covered all the IndyCar news. There's a lot going on, and a lot will continue to go on this week after some tests. But Daytona happened. And last year, our biggest show of the year was after Daytona because I got to do the Daytona 500. And it was kind of wild to watch it this year after having got to experience it last year. Sad to see the rain delay, of course. You had the ARCA race and the truck race. That all happened. Those were crash fests, which was kind of a shame. I talked to Marco Andretti a little bit after the race. He had a good race going, but then he got involved in an accident as well. I told him, I said, there does seem to be a lot of lack of thought in some of the moves in some of those races in the truck and ARCA race. But I thought the same thing in the Xfinity race too. There's a lot of moves where it's like, everyone looks like they're almost trying to crash. And the Cup race I thought was definitely more put together. The last laps are going to be chaos no matter what. But to kind of pay attention to how that race goes now that I've done it, we were not in a competitive vehicle. But we still got to experience a lot of it, and especially at the beginning when we were running with the pack, kind of on the same pace. It was very cool, and to see William Byron get it, good for him. I don't know William really at all. I would have liked to have seen my boy Corey LaJoie get it, the Chili's wagon. We talked about the margarita machine. Corey LaJoie almost had it. He got into Austin Cindric there. Austin kind of moved up and he moved to the bottom, and then they saved it, but then Chastain. That was kind of a worst possible case scenario situation there. And those cars, when you get to the rear bumper of the car in front of you, that means you've already broken through the wall of air, and it can be pretty sketchy as soon as you get rubbed the wrong way, as they say. But overall, exactly. But overall, I think hate it for NASCAR that they had the rain delays. You had to have the Daytona 500 and then the Xfinity race late at night, Monday night. Which I watched as well. But yeah, what was your impression of the Daytona weekend? You're a big NASCAR guy.
Yeah, so I have a few notes. Obviously, just to talk about what you're saying with the trucks and Xfinity, like I would be in ARCA too. Like I do think that it's just you're going to have lack of experience, and that's really always going to be your big
some young folks.
Yeah. And whenever when that's allowed, when you depending on who your mentors are, if the teams are just kind of like, hey, get out there and try to get it, and you got young kids that want to make their name and they want to make, things big, they're going to do those kind of things. Like you see, like a good buddy of mine, Raja Karuth, you saw Bubba like kind of pull him and just kind of give him like a little, like, what were you thinking? Like, what are you doing? And the thing about Raja is like he's one of those guys where he's going to listen and he has good people in his corners. I want to see him do well. I want and the people that are around him want to see him do well. So it's like not everybody may have that. And so it's weird for me because like I don't watch as much trucks and Xfinity as I used to because of that. Like I'm really a Cup guy through and through. And that's what I choose to put my time on. Now, there were some, like, notable things. Like, obviously, Frankie Muniz. He got to hit the Xfinity race. That's cool.
Frank the Tank.
Shout out to Frankie. You know, Malcolm's back. One of the only Xfinity drivers to ever have a photo taken with Tupac. I think that's something to note. Also, another really cool note about William Byron's finish. Now, I do like some Benjamin Bill. I'm not going to lie. Benjamin Bill, great guy. You know, he's, had some good times with him, on the, like out yonder. You know what I mean? So,
Yep.
He's
in the streets.
Out there in the streets with Benjamin Bill, Martinsville, great times. Now Daytona, he's a champion. One thing I thought was cool about that is that he tied Petty. I think Hendrick tied Petty Enterprises for most Daytona 500 wins. So that's a cool little notable right there. There was a lot of controversy. I'm not going to dig deep in it because of the finish. There always is. People are always mad.
Yep.
People are happy. Who cares? Go for it.
Yeah, it's over.
Exactly. Yeah. It's over. That's fine. Austin Hill won Xfinity. And
Austin Hill always looked like he was going to win that race, by the way. That car, those RCR cars are so fast. He's with RCR, right? Yeah,
he is with RCR, but
yeah,
Sheldon Creed had
the 21 and the 3. Yeah, but the 21 and the 3 car were even the 3 car. The Love fella, Jesse Love. Yeah, Jesse Love. That car had no front end on it, and it was still like leading the pack. Like it was so fast. So they build really fast super speedway cars. But I was happy for Austin Hill. I think that race was definitely that was kind of wild at the end. Big crashes, a lot of crashes all the way through. I don't know if this is an interesting question. Now again, NASCAR Twitter I'm sure could argue this for me, but dangerous place there. but I think we're in an era where like NASCAR there's always been a lot of contact, there's always been a lot of wrecks and stuff like that, big famous accidents and crazy driving, and hey, we're gonna take what you get, take what's yours,
right?
But I would say that it looks like the standard of racing is almost just kind of decreased a little bit. I would say in the lower series, whether both ARCA all the way through the Cup Series, or not the Cup Series, through Xfinity. I think the Cup Series, when you watch that race, they're definitely more manageable of their equipment. I think because the cars are much more expensive now too, the new Cup cars. But the Xfinity cars and the truck guys and girls, like, I don't know. And again, I want to try to do some truck races, but you see a lot of contact that is almost, there's a lot of desperation. Now, again, sometimes that stuff pays off. I get that. But I do wish the standard of driving, you can still race and not like wreck everyone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, there's still only one winner all the time. But if you want to wreck more often than win, I don't know how that works. You know what I mean? So maybe there should be a better, just a little bit higher of a standard. And again, NASCAR doesn't hand penalties out to drivers really for driving offenses that much. If anything, it's just fines and stuff like that. But I don't know. I don't think you can really change the system too much. But I would like it so where some of the younger folks in the series, weren't just having to get in and try to wreck someone to win something. I mean, now again, you got to do what you got to do to win. I completely understand that, but a lot of the times it looks kind of like it doesn't look great when everyone is wrecked and like the person who finishes 8th has nothing left on his car except a tire. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It's I don't know. I love that. I watch every race. So I don't mind. But sometimes I'm like, I enjoy the green flag finishes so much on these super speedways that I just wish there was more of it. That's all.
Yeah, and the Cup's starting to show a little bit more of that too, which I forgot to also mention. The Ford front ends look so good now. Like they look so nice and flush and clean. But what you're saying, like it means something, right? Because like let's look at SVG, right? He's coming in. He's an outsider. You would be coming in from IndyCar doing some of these races. You're an outsider. And then when you see the guys and the girls that are in there all the time, it's like if you kind of feel like you're coming into this party where you're in this familiar group and this familiar understanding of how racing is, and it's almost like there's like this like lack of care when it comes to being there, especially for a weekend like Daytona weekend. Like for me, I think that's where I'm starting to understand and see it a lot clearer now, is that, you know, maybe it's not a situation where you have to look at it like the system. It's more of just a mentality of the people that are within that system. And if there is a respect factor that needs to be, you know, replenished. So I think that that's what matters most, because that's what keeps people from wanting to compete in those series. It's like you have to have a little bit of that moral and a little bit of that camaraderie where you're like, I'm going to respect my fellow guy out here.
Respect,
but
yeah.
I'm also
respect is a big word, yeah.
It is. But it's like I'm also going to do what it takes for me to win if I'm in the situation. So it's a lot of fine lines that need to be just kind of like pushed down and really create what that line is. And it's just going to take time. And I don't know when or how we got away from it, from like the years of like, you know, the 90s when you had like Hornaday and, you know, guys like that. So it's like, how do you get to that? So
Jack
it's really,
Sprague.
Shout out to Jack Sprague. Great mustache, by the way.
But also, like, I think part of the chaos that happens in Daytona with the trucks, there's only 32 trucks entered for Atlanta. Like, that's not a full field. So, you know, I don't know if that's just because they all wrecked all of them in Daytona, but I would say that's concerning. That's concerning, right? Like, that's not like I would have thought in the NASCAR world right now, I mean, just to fill the field like that, you know, they give out a lot of prize money to be a part of those races, right? So, you know, if people aren't willing to even show up, now again, you don't want to, like, obviously there are going to be some slower teams, but the fact that there are only 32 cars showing up to Atlanta right now, I mean, that's kind of surprising. And maybe that's because they all, you know, wrecked every single truck in the field at Daytona. I don't know.
I'll leave it at this. maybe it's a little too open, and maybe it needs a little more respect. Maybe it's a little too open, needs a little more respect.
That's all.
Don't take it for granted so much, because there's a lot of people on the outside of it that wish they could be in that situation. Don't create a bad environment for people that are wanting to help to grow those series inside of NASCAR.
Exactly. So there's all of our racing news, I think, recently. I'd love to get to our interview with Mike Shank, Michael Shank. He is it's a great chat, and I do hope you guys enjoy it. So here is the co-owner of Meyer Shank Racing, Michael Shank. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this week we are very, very honored to have an extremely successful guest, a man who I have had the joy of being employed by briefly, a man who co-owns technically a very successful racing team. And I don't know if this is correct, the 1989 SCCA Ohio Valley Region's Novice Driver of the Year, and three-time IMSA champion, three-time Rolex 24 winner. He has more Rolexes than he does have arms. Michael Shank. Mike, we appreciate you being here, man. Thank you so much. Is that correct on the 1989 Driver of the Year?
I don't know where you found that, but that is absolutely true.
Incredible.
That trophy back there somewhere. I don't know. Yeah, it's true.
I love it.
Yeah,
I
love that's how I started.
That.
Connor, that's, back in the day, that's how we started. Go-karting wasn't as big a thing then, right? And so, that's what we did.
Exactly. No, I respect that. The SCCA, that was a lot of people's routes. Mike, we could talk a lot about the history of everything, and I know you are not that old, honestly. So you still have many, many years in front of you. So I don't even really want to go too deep into the history of. We know you're here. We know you were a racing driver. You're a very successful team owner now. I have so many questions about the business, but I want to start, I guess, a little bit on this history side. So the sports car realm, right?
Yeah.
When I thought about Grand Am and sports car racing, I thought of the MSR team, bringing the heat to the Ganassis, bringing the heat to the sporting car scene. You had guys like Justin Wilson, AJ Allmendinger, big names. You yourself were driving as well. How did you basically start? How did you start so strong? Like how was it your attitude? Was it the way you approached owning a team?
Good questions. Really I was really an open wheel guy from when I came in. I wanted to go to the Indianapolis 500 just like you, Connor. That was all I dreamed about. Central Ohio guy, listened to the race every May, just die hard when like Bobby Rahal was coming through and Johnny Rutherford a little bit and at the end of his career. But, it was always open wheel, and we built the business headed that direction. And we did a series called Toyota Atlantic, which was kind of like an Indy Lights, kind of a comparable to Indy Lights. We did that all the way through 2002, and it came to a time there right after 9/11 that our team was just suffering terrible financially, and we're at a crossroads. We didn't know what to do. And I had a relationship with Toyota at the time through the Toyota Atlantic Series. And they decided to do this kind of upstart Daytona prototype thing with Jim France in Grand Am. And so Dale Wise and I were sitting around like, I don't know what the hell we're going to do. I mean, I'm thinking about a real job at that point, which is bad. That's bad. Nobody wants that, right?
Yeah,
so,
nope.
we looked at it a little harder, and we really, I met with Jim. Jim doesn't know who I am at all at that point, right? He has some friends that know me, and whatever. We need to build some teams. Same year I came in, Chip Ganassi came in, Bill Riley had his team with Wayne. A bunch of people came in right in that 04 season. And Jim, once he and I got to know each other, he put his arm around me, really made sure we could get the car bought through Kevin Dorn down in Cincinnati, Ohio. We got the car bought. And I'll tell you why this changed my life. It's because racing at the time started going through this specization of everything, right? Back with the time when your dad was doing IndyCar, man, they were building their own A-arms, their own wings, their own everything, right? And you had to have a lot of dough to have that evolution of development, right? Well, I think Jim is one of them that saw the writing on the wall and said, we need to equalize it and get it so a lot more people can compete at any level. If you got a good driver, a good engineer, a good crew, you have a shot. And that's what Daytona Prototype did for me. We didn't have shit. We had nothing. We had 6 guys, 4 full-time. And we managed to, that's where I met Oz Negri, and we got going, he and I got going together. And the opportunity, the very first short race we did after Daytona in 04, we finished 3rd, right? Like in a pro deal behind Chip, And I was like, wow, I mean, this might be something good. And it really went from there. And by the way, today's Cup deal, the car you drove last year, that is basically a Daytona prototype, right? That is Jim France's idea. Standardize everything. Don't touch anything, okay? And go race it. So more people have opportunity. Or we're our own worst enemy, right? We're going to still figure out a way to make it better than the next guy or try to. But the bottom line is that moment in sports car history took us from nothing to something and really established us at a pro level with OEM eyeballs on us. And it just kind of built from there. It's a long answer. I'm sorry.
No. It's we like those answers. This is what a podcast is all about. It leads me into exactly what's next. I mean, you building that operation, obviously. Now the Atlantic Series, I did know about that. That like having Sam Hornish there as well. Like there a lot of great stuff happened in the Atlantic Series. That was what I watched when I was a kid, right? But as this sports car team grew, right, you still had the eyes on IndyCar, and I knew that too. I feel like everyone knew that eventually you wanted to be in the IndyCar series. But did it take building that relationship with a manufacturer? Did it take establishing a partnership with Jim Meyer? I think a lot of people, I get asked this all the time, like, well, do you want to race this? Or do you want to do that? It's like, a lot of the times it's not what you want to do. It's what works, like what works best. How can you make this your job? And you made it your job. You made it this successful organization. Give us like kind of like the raw, like pure fan. What are those steps like? Like, is it, hey, we got to win at this level, and then we got to get the support from Honda, Chevy, whoever it is, and then we got to have an investor or something like that. Is it sort of like that?
It kind of is. What we did is we started with our base, which was 2004 in this case, in Daytona Prototype, and then we just kind of kept building it. And how did we build it? We built it with guys that could afford to go racing. A lot of people that you and I have known, Connor, over our years, how people like you and I kind of survive in the world, people that were willing to spend some money and wanted a co-driver, right? Which you've done many times. And for me, it was Oz Negri that bought some guys around that loved racing and would spend some money. And that gave us our financial, I needed some base to stand on, because my wife and I, I mean, we weren't poor, but we couldn't afford to do it on our own, you know.
So, well, you guys mortgaged your house, right, to get it going as well in the first place.
We did on that first car, and Jim, Jim.
That's crazy.
And Jim co-signed on it, right? Like that's how we got it done. Wow. That's how we got it done. And by the way, I sold that
dedication.
Car. We sold that car at the end of that season. It paid off perfectly. Bang, boom, boom. And from that point on, we were able to figure out ways to finance cars, and we didn't have to put the house up. And it was still ham and egg in it, right? A little bit ham and egg, but we still got her done. But really what it was a constant evolution of building the product. We just get a little stronger every year. And in 2006, when AJ and Justin came, we finished second to Ganassi again in that year, at the Rolex 24. But the program just got better, right? And we just kept building it. And one of the things I really realized quick, it's at some point you got to have an OEM manufacturer help, period. You got to somehow get in there. So for me, it started out with TRD Toyota. And then I transitioned to Ford and did that for 8 years with Ford, had a great relationship with Ford. And then finally in 2015, we moved over to Honda and Acura, and kind of our life took off from there, And but all along the way, you're building these relationships with people. And Cotter, you're probably in the top 3 of all I know of able to get in there, wiggle in there like a cancer, right? And you get in there and you build.
Compare me to cancer. I like it. Yeah.
They can't quite shake you, And and that's how I am too, by the way. So we build these and by the way, we deliver on that, Connor. I'm bullshitting with you, but we bring our value to the side. They come in. We try to put parties together, and everybody gets something out of it. So that's how we started. And in 2017. I was in prototype. I was in P2 with a Ligier Honda, and we just won Petit Le Mans overall for the first time in 2016. And I had found out that the Honda or that Acura were going to do an NSX factory program, and I put an RFP in. I won the deal, and for the next 4 years, we had a factory GTD deal. We won the championship 2 years in a row. Did a bunch of great things with that, and that built. But also, what happened in 2017, I got a call from Stephen Wilson about running the Indy 500. He had a deal with Michael Andretti, but they needed some people to do it. Would you crew come and do it? We kind of melded the groups, right, for 17. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, Fernando Alonso decided he wanted to go to the Indy 500 that same year, and we got. Stefan kind of got moved to the side, not of my doing, of, Michael's great plan here, which worked good at the time. And he used us, and we ran Jack Harvey. And that's how that whole, and because I ran Jack Harvey, I met Jim Meyer from Sirius XM, an Indianapolis-based guy, And again, it's that networking, it's that relationships and what's got this done, right? Treating people really well, doing what you say you're going to do, even if it hurts you. That's the kind of stuff that put my wife and I kind of in the place we are today. And then, it just kept building from it. Our life changed, once when we won the Rolex 24, first I meet Jim France, that changed it. Then we won the Rolex, and then, then we met, then we did the Honda deal, and then I met Jim Meyer, and from there it's gone vertical, especially on the IndyCar side. And he and I have a really, really unique, great relationship. You got to be a part of that by decent chunk there, Connor, and got to see how we like to sit and drink beer bars and talk shit, and but we also are passionate, right? And
absolutely.
And to this day, when we do well, we show it. When we don't do well, we show it. And that's the quick snapshot of it right now. So
no, I know that there was a lot to that, and I appreciate you getting into that, because it's I love what you've done now, because you're an Indy 500 champion, right? Very difficult to do. Right? You have the bottle of milk, you have the ring, you have the wreath. That's an incredible accomplishment. The driver that won it for you is now also your co-owner, which is also wild. But you've now built this. You talk about building what you have now. You have the ability as a team owner to go after the guys that you want too, right? There's a lot of teams, and I think more people don't realize this, but there are several teams, even Ganassi, that there are drivers that are there that, there's a financial element that, there's always a financial element that you might not know about. But you, Mike, what I respect about you, you've gone after the guys that you want, right? Like, hey, we want the best guys in our car to give us a chance at winning races, right? Now there's there's always, small financial elements here and there, but you building the team with Jim Meyer and all of your partners, Liberty Media is invested in the team as well. How much has that given you the confidence as an owner to be like, hey, I think we got the best guys that we need to go bring home more trophies?
Well, at the end of yes, I'm very proud of the fact that when we needed you, I could call you and you come drive for us. You didn't have to do anything to do that. Right?
Appreciate that, by the way.
Yeah. I'm very, very proud of that. But that doesn't mean I'm immune to having to put other partnerships together to make budgets work. Because ultimately, I have partners to answer to. Liberty Media, you don't think they not make money on anything they do. Or Jim Meyer, I don't want to let either one of those parties down. So how do we do this balance? It's a huge balance between results and marketing partnerships and who can bring what and how and when. And I'm also real fortunate that, Tim Meyer has joined us, who you got to know Tim quite well, Jim's son.
Yes.
He's kind of heading up our commercial division. I'm really proud to say that I think we're in the top 5 of revenue generated from IndyCar racing as we sit here today, and I'm proud of that. And how did that happen? Well, yeah, we used everybody's relationship to make that happen. And I'm not afraid. Yeah. I'm not afraid to say that, But
you're a dreamer.
I'm still under the pressure all the time to look out for that budget, and it's not perfect all the time. Some of the if you look at some of the driver salaries in our series, Connor, that you're good friends with, these guys are making a lot of money again, right?
Thank God. Yeah.
And how do we not only come up with the operation side, but we got to fund the talent side too, right? And it's a delicate balance for us. So we're real proud to have, Elio's a unique individual, as you well know, and got to know him real well with us and before, and he's great at the PR or the marketing side. You put him in a room of people, he just dominates the room, right? And that's kind of
absolutely.
I need to have several tentacles to make this successful, and he's a very important part of it today. So on top of that, we would love for him to win a 5th with us. That would be incredible.
Well, I certainly don't hope that happens, but anyway, all the best. Chase. Yeah.
So,
Chase, I know you have something for Mike.
Yeah, just listening to everything that you're saying here, Mike, like I'm, no shame in saying I'm fairly new to learning about you, and I've read an article recently that Marshall Pruitt did, I think, on ESPN in 2022, really just diving into understanding your career, and then hearing everything that you're saying right now. I just have to say, like, and I mentioned it a bit ago, like, you're a dreamer, and you're one of those people, like, people don't understand the amount of energy and the amount of time and just connections and people that you have to put together to make some of these things come to fruition. And I think that it means so much to see that whenever it's finally, like, at a point to where it's, it's flourished. And you've obviously gotten that. And so you have to get that from being a people person, and from also just knowing what you want out of life, and knowing, what your goals and your dreams are, and finding other people that, you can compare in that area. Some of these things that I've read, it talks a lot about your fan engagement, talks a lot about how, you love the fans, and you love kind of that, having that down to earth presence when you're at the tracks. Have you ever encountered, or a better way to say it, what's one of, like, your best moments that you have had, kind of like when it comes to fan interaction at IMS or any track or at any point in your career? Like, is there, like, one memorable moment that stands out, among others?
There is. There's a moment. I got lucky because my wife got to be there with me for it too. But I'll tell you, a lot of how we are in Connor and Chase, I'm not sure where you're from the Midwest or not. I put a lot of it to kind of how we were raised in the Midwest, or the work mentality. I had to work since I was, 12 or 13, or wanted to, I should say. It was just what we do, right? And when there's a piece of junk on the floor, we stop and we pick it up and we throw it away, and we make our beds in the morning. It's just that basic, right? So I think a lot of how I am today, and believe me, I've got my own issues, but is from that basis of how we were raised, right? And the view on how we treat people. With regard to the best moment I've ever been a part of was actually after we won the 500, and I didn't know they did this, Connor. You probably know, but when you win the race, so you do all this stuff there on the the front straightaway or whatever. Then they put the driver and his wife in a convertible, in this case Camaro, and they take you about 5 miles an hour around the track. Okay, and when we were all down there, we were losing track of time and stuff, and Elio and his wife and his daughter jumped into this Camaro, and he said, "MB and Mike, come on!" So he let MB and I get in the Camaro with them to go. Now this is a guy who just won his 4th, right? Like he joined it.
Yeah.
And when if you guys remember in 21, Connor, you led that race, which was a proud moment for you and your family too, by the way.
That's the only one I've been to, by the way, as well.
Yeah.
500 I've ever been to.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's awesome.
But you remember, guys, there's only 140,000 people there. I swear, Bulls will tell you different. It was probably more than that, but they told us 140. But the most incredible energy I've ever felt was people stayed. They didn't leave that year at all, and they all came out to the fence and climbed up the fence like this. And the amount of energy that was coming toward our car was like, I looked at my wife and said, I think I'm going to cry. This is incredible. Like, just the appreciation for the people in Indiana, essentially all the fans that came out there for that day to say, Elio, we're lucky we're here when you did this, was just incredible. And I'm just forever be grateful for that one.
I love that. Yeah, it's an incredible moment. Winning that race there, it's got to be like nothing else. I hope to obviously get that feeling as well. But there's speaking of the Indianapolis 500, this might be a controversial subject, but you're the only owner that we've had on this show.
Okay.
But recently there was a lot of talk about guaranteed entries for the 500. I don't know. I understand the financial part about it, but and I obviously have a very passionate answer about this because I love the history of the 500.
Yeah.
But can you give us give the fans or people just an idea of okay, if we end up doing something like this, or if there ends up, give us the reason why, or give us the, I guess, or how do you feel about it? And if it's something that, hey, I understand that there's a financial, relevancy to it all, but just let us know, because it's a genuine question that I think a lot of people have a very passionate, feeling about. And I was just curious as to what you thought about it.
Listen, there was a little article few weeks ago that I had some comments about it, and I want to be careful about this because there's nobody here that loves.
Of course, we don't want to get anyone in trouble.
There's no one here that loves to go to the museum more than me, right? So the history, the people, the history, the life that has taken place down that front straightaway or that track means a lot to me. Okay, I think I think today's a different day though. These are, you have to, modern times call for modern answers, and it can't stay, in my opinion, the same way forever. So in a roundabout way, what I'm saying to you is I think there's a way we can work this out, that there are some guaranteed spots for people that are heavily invested. But there's also, that doesn't eliminate bumping though. There's still going to be many spots open for bumping and doesn't change that dynamic. But our world is a lot different now, and how we raise the money and the mouths we feed and all that really matter to me. And I really wrestle with this. But as far as myself, my partner, Jim Meyer, we support some way of guaranteeing spots in the 500, but we don't want to eliminate the past the 33, right? We want to keep that day, because I think that's one of the best days in sports, period. Right.
I agree.
So I understand the passion, and I'm going to get a ton of shit for this. But it's the truth. I don't want to lie to you either. Yeah, how I feel about it.
No. But I respect that.
Yeah.
Like
some people.
That's the thing. Well, and again, change is hard for a lot of people, right? Like sometimes, you hear something at first, and it's like, well, that's never going to happen. But if you're forced to do it, well, guess what? You kind of learn to adapt and you learn to appreciate it. So I even understand myself. Let's all sit down at the table then and figure out a way. Okay, maybe is it only the top 10 in the championship at the time? Maybe is it this, that, or whatever? How can you figure it out? Because there is a way, I'm sure, that it can be done. Despite how I feel about it, how fans feel about it, I completely understand the business side, and I appreciate you answering that, honestly, because that's hard, and it's a tough subject.
I don't like to, I had my share of controversy last year with our sports car stuff, so I don't try to dive into this too much, but I also don't want to lie to the people. If you
of course,
I feel about it, this is how I feel about it. You don't have to agree with me, but I can tell you,
exactly.
If you have 65 people on your full-time payroll and you have no other business to rely on, you come and talk to me when you sleep good. right? And the one race in our world that means the most to me in my life is the fucking Indy 500, and I do not want to. Yeah, I want to do whatever I can to be a part of that.
Absolutely,
I feel that. Well, I was just gonna mention too, like there's definitely the way. There's the way to make it. I like what you guys are both saying, like as far as maybe a limited amount of security, and at least that. Not everybody out there is paying for everyone to be in this thing or can give the money to the teams like you're saying. So the limited, I think that should be fair enough for, some fans if that can be wiggled out. But you're definitely right about, the changes that are coming. That was one thing that I kind of wanted to go into with you as well, is just, right now there's a lot that's going on in the world with technology. There's a lot that's happening in racing with technology. I know the AI with data and everything with racing is huge. The hybrid cars, with you talking about watching these cars evolve, so much over time, you've been into these different forms of racing. Where do you really see like the next generation of IndyCar racing like going? Like, what do you see as far as the innovation with the car, as far as the sport itself? Like, is there anything that's going on right now, talks like behind the scenes with that?
Well, obviously you talked about the hybrid. We have that coming. They were making some great strides with it here the last month or so. I'd say they're testing today. As a matter of fact, at Homestead, some of the cars are. So obviously that's coming. That, we spent 18 months developing the hybrid package for IMSA, which was really cool. It does some really, really amazing things. It puts a whole nother element of driving race cars into the car, which is also cool. Again, it's that modern way of thinking of where we're going. Personally, beyond the electric and the hybridization, what I think is coming soon, and I don't know what form this will come in, just me listening to the ground a little bit, is hydrogen power, clean energy, like really clean energy, right?
Yeah.
So I'm almost wondering if, we have for a long time we kept reading electric is going to dominate our world, right? Like for last 5 years, electric. But I think you're seeing some diversity. Toyota's come out and said, "Hey, we're going to do gas, hydrogen, electric. We're going to kind of mix this bag up." And Honda's all electric right now. That's the only really future forward thinking thing I know of. I think it's important. Again, back to the OEM thing, Connor, that we were talking about. We need some more manufacturers in IndyCar like IMSA have, just to drive technology and drive relevance for us. And also, we want them to spend their marketing dollars to help promote all of us, and that's a powerful tool. So we have to be a little attuned to what they want, and bend maybe toward that a little bit. But I'm not sure what comes next. But I'm hearing hydrogen, but I don't know.
Well, you know what, Mike? We appreciate. I don't want to take up too much of your time. You've been very generous with us, and I appreciate that. I honestly still to this day getting to drive for your operation, even though it was a crazy situation and it was not the way you want to get in a car. That was one of the best experiences of my career, and I truly wish that we would have, I think, got the finishes that I think we deserved at a couple different places there. Sure. But it was an amazing experience. I think you're running an incredible team. Real quick, feeling good about Felix and Tom. Everything preparation-wise, things looking good for you guys. Cars looking good. People feeling good.
Yep, we're loading up here on Thursday to go to Sebring. There's a big test Monday, Tuesday, which Connor, I'm sure you know about. One car runs each day. We had a great 2 days at Homestead, which on the road course at Homestead, which is kind of an irrelevant track, but it was good to get the boys out there. They're good friends offline, so there's a lot going on there. We're working super, super hard on the Indy 500 stuff, as I'm sure your group is also, Connor. It means everything to all of us. And I'm very hopeful. We had just a really tough year, and it started at St. Pete last year with both cars being taken out within 1,000 feet of the green flag, right?
Yeah.
And we just never quite got our legs back under us. But I think, Connor, you saw we have good people. We just keep honing this to make it better. On my IMSA side, I truly feel we're the best team on the grid right now. Maybe toward the end of the season, we're the best. And we're going to keep working on our IndyCar program until we get it to where we want it. But so far, the two boys are doing great, and kind of we'll see.
Love that.
Connor, no mountain biking. We don't want to see any more problems. These drivers on their mountain bikes, man. Gotta stay off them.
He's wearing a belt shirt too.
I tell you what, man. It's I the amount of people that immediately called me and were like asking, and I'm like, look, I sent the text immediately. Don't worry, like I'm ready to go. But I think we'll see what happens. But yeah, I wish you guys all the best. Honestly, we'll obviously see you in May. I'm sure I'll end up in another IndyCar race at some point. Who knows? But
yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, man,
absolutely.
Thank you so much for being with us. And you know what? We're gonna be we're MSR fans. We are. So
thanks,
don't worry. And thanks a lot, man.
Anytime. All right, boys. Thank you.
Well, first team owner on our show. I was very, very happy to have him. I think him getting into the guaranteed entries for the Indy 500, that's going to be a touchy subject. But I appreciate his honesty. I think, we don't want to get anyone in trouble. Obviously, we respect, and that's part of the game that I think we don't understand as fans. Like of course we don't want to see guaranteed entries, but maybe there's a way to help a little bit. So I appreciate Mike's honesty on that, and just I enjoy him as a human being in the motorsport realm. All right, well, as always, we will roll into my favorite segment of the show. I think a lot of people's favorite segments of the show, the Ricky Treadway Random Indy 500 Driver of the Week.
The greatest event of its kind that's ever been run on.
Time now to meet the drivers who will make up the field.
All right, so this week we went to the 1955 Indy 500. We went a little old for the previous few Indy 500s. Like we started with Chase pretty much with people born in the 1800s, essentially. Mm-hmm. But now we're getting closer to our our current existence, but still very old. The 1955 Indianapolis 500. The 1955 Indianapolis 500 was won by Bob Swikert. Bob Swikert, again, probably could also be a random Indy 500 Driver of the Week. But the random Indy 500 Driver of the Week is the 16th place finisher. The 16th place finisher was Cal Naday or Cal Naday. I don't know how you pronounce that. Cal Naday. Cal Naday was born April 29th, 1914 in California. California man. American race car driver. Lost his leg in a motorcycle accident after high school, but it didn't affect his racing career. I just read this for the first time. That's my favorite part about this is like, I did not know that Bob was driving legless. Yeah. Cal was driving legless. Mm-hmm. That's kind of wild. Didn't affect his racing career. Also noted first race car driver to wear a modern style Bell helmet. Oddly enough, I am wearing a Bell shirt. This is completely random, Chase. Like I'm wearing a Bell shirt. Cal Naday, first driver to wear a Bell helmet.
I think
that's kind of wild.
I think it's it's a little mysterious. I'm not gonna lie. It's not Friday the 13th, but I mean, could be somewhere. I will say this though. It's always fitting, when I hear good stories about old Naday, especially with him. A lot of people don't realize that a long time ago, like him being in California, he actually was the person that was going to invent Nike shoes. He had some things, go kind of terribly wrong, but we
allegedly. Now again, these are alleged.
Correct.
These might, or in fact, are not true, but we can speculate because we don't know.
Well,
Cal.
I heard this from my great-grandfather's friend that worked at the feed store for a really long time. He told me about it, and he knew it. So,
wait, the Good Feed store? Wasn't that a store? The Good Feed store?
Circle D's feed store. It's a great place. Used to go to get a lot of corn from there, but. Nice. Yeah, he told me, apparently there was a prototype. We were all supposed to be stomping in the days. We weren't supposed to be wearing Nikes, but, someone caught wind of it, accidents happen, and didn't really, have to worry too much about the shoes anymore, but it could still race. So that's just a really cool little fun nugget that my great-grandfather's friend that worked at the feed store once told me.
Wow, I love that. That is good to know. This is, honestly, Naday is one of 3 drivers to have participated in the Indy 500 with a prosthetic leg. That is also like that is definitely a true thing. We're back to the truth now about Cal. Wild. I mean, that's kind of
really puts the do in just
I did not know. Yeah, I did not know that at all. Poor guy was killed by a heart attack after being thrown from a vintage open wheel car at Willow Springs. Also crazy. R.I.P. Cal. That's wild. He's out here racing with one leg and got thrown out of a car, died of a heart attack. That is absurd. 3 Indy 500s on his record, 1953, 54, and 55. Best finish at 10th, so he had a top 10. But that is fascinating to know. So we learned of Cal Naday, Random Indy 500 Driver of the Week, allegedly big potential Nike guy, but no. But wow, prosthetic leg racing driver. That's incredible. Good for him.
Can we give him
Good
the heart?
for him.
I feel like he deserves the Heart of the Dog award. You know what I mean?
Heart of the Dog, yeah.
He needs the medal of the dog, dude. Like, that is a way to go out. That's a
incredible
life that man lived.
Seriously,
I want there should be a statue of him. I'm gonna just say that right now.
73 years old too. He lived a life. He was still racing. Wait, so that means
he was racing.
He died of a heart attack at 73 while he was racing. That's crazy.
Dude, that's a Heart of the Dog like memorial.
Yeah. Dog of the week. Dog of the week is Cal Naday. Dog of the week is Cal Naday. So that wraps up our episode. A fantastic one. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We hope that you tune in again next week. And in the previous show, at the end of the show, I didn't know who I was interviewing. We had already had this interview set up with Michael Shank. So I had that in my calendar. So I don't know what's on my calendar for next week. There's a potential we might have another Indy NXT driver. This is the first time in my life where we're now getting reached out to by people that want to be on the show. Like I even had a PR firm, like a driver's public relations team, reach out and ask if this driver could be on. So we'll see. We don't know yet, but we're going to see. So we appreciate you listening. Please leave a like on this video if you're watching on YouTube. Leave a review if you're listening on a podcast platform. And we appreciate you, as always, for listening to this week's episode of Speed Street. Hey everyone, Connor Daly here. Please leave a like on this video if you did enjoy it, and also subscribe to the channel as well. That would be very helpful. Be a friend, tell a friend. Thank you so much for the support, and we'll see you on the next episode of Speed Street.